Welcome to SportsBeat Live from the Final Four in New Orleans, presented by Community America. This is Jesse Newell, KU beat writer for the Kansas City Star. As you can tell, KU basketball is just getting started with its practice here in New Orleans ahead of the Final Four matchup against Villanova. We're going to break down the matchup a little bit, and joining me now, also live from New Orleans, is Taylor Eldridge from the Wichita Eagle, who has done some work for us. Taylor, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me on.
Well, like I said, Taylor, this is a matchup. This is a rematch of two coaches that are familiar with each other. You're talking about Jay Wright from Villanova and Bill Self from Kansas. The 2018 matchup did not go the Jayhawks' way or the way they would prefer it to go. The teams have met since then when KU won it down Fieldhouse. But I know you've broken down some of the film, Taylor, and what stood out to you about the Wildcats and potentially the type of challenge that they're going to provide against the Jayhawks?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody kind of respects Jay Wright's, X's and O's. He's widely considered one of the best coaches in college basketball. And what really stood out to me was, the way that they post up guards. And, they've been doing this for a long time now. I went back and watched, and, they've been doing this for 5-6 years. And Colin Gillespie is the latest iteration of, the guards that post up. And he's so crafty down in the post. He's so good with the pump fakes and the spins, and he can, even if he starts, he'll just dribble the ball up the court, and they don't even have to throw him a post up. He'll just back his guy down from the 3-point line. It's like Andre Miller, from the early 2000s NBA. So, and he almost always gets to the rim too. That's the thing. He rarely, when I was watching Jalen Brunson, he settled a lot for jumpers, and he was really good in the jumpers out of the post-ups, but Colin Gillespie gets to the rim almost every single time with up fakes, with spin moves. So, that's going to be a huge challenge for KU because, they play two small guards, DeJuan Harris and Remy Martin. So, if they are matched up with Gillespie, that's going to be a really tough ask because Villanova is so good at spacing the floor where, McCormick is obviously the big rim protector. But, they're going to draw him away from the basket. They're going to, put his man on the 3-point line and really stretch the defense. So I'm going to be, very interested to see what KU does to combat that and how they guard Gillespie in the post.
Yeah, Bill Self actually talked about that today. He said that there's really no comparison for Villanova in the Big 12 and what KU has faced because of exactly what you said, Taylor, which is Gillespie will bring the ball up the court at 20 feet the free throw line, and he'll start backing you down right there. And it's been a small sample for KU's guards this year, but DeJuan Harris and Remy Martin, we both know are not that big. So potentially that's something to watch here because KU loves to switch the guard-to-guard screens. They love to kind of take people out of actions, but they also probably don't want Gillespie to be able to just bully his way to the rim every single time down the court. So that'll be something to watch. Really quickly, Gary Bedore is watching practice, our fellow KU beat writer for the Kansas City Star. Gary, real quickly, let's loop you in before they do anything besides bunny hop here on the court. Any takeaways that you had from the media session today? We just got done with breakouts here at the arena.
Yeah, I asked a lot of the guys about whether it's a cliche or not, or Villanova would fire up a ton of threes. Last time they played in Philadelphia, Villanova won a low-scoring game, and they shot 40 threes. And, of course, in the national title game, which the Jayhawks here weren't in that game, but they were in the game in the last time they met in Philadelphia. Obviously, it was 13 threes the first half made by Villanova, and they blew them out of the gym. The Jayhawks said, no, it's not cliche. We're stressing the three-point defense. Christian Brown went through a nice technical answer about how to maybe stop him, but a lot of the guys are still concerned about the Villanova 3 and what has happened in the past in KU-Villanova games.
All right, great, Gary. Well, I'll let you watch practice for a second. We'll bring you back in and unmute you in a second.
Okay.
Taylor, it brings up a good point because I think stylistically it's interesting in this matchup because it's not 2018 Kansas against 2018 Nova. It's 2022 versions of each other, but this is still a Jay Wright team against a Bill Self team. You got the 4-round one for Bill Self, and then you've got exactly from Villanova what Gary's talking about. They fire up threes. They don't make as many as they did in 2018, which had a team with a bunch of NBA players, but they're going to fire them up, and a lot of those coming out of those post actions. So are you expecting the same from Villanova in this particular game against Kansas?
Yeah, I think the game plan for Villanova is going to slow this game down to a crawl, make it a half court game, really try to limit the opportunities for KU to get out and run, because obviously everyone knows how good they are in transition. So I think Villanova is really going to try to take the air out of the ball, walk the ball up the court, just past half court, 8-9 seconds in, and really bleed the clock for a lot of this game. And like you guys said, they're going to space the floor, and then it's almost inverted. A lot of the times you see the 1-4, the guy up high with the 4 guys on the baseline. Villanova is almost inverted, where they'll have Gillespie, go down and dribble into the post up, and he's the one inside the arc, and then they have 4 guys above the free throw line, and that really stretches the defense, stretches the help defense. Obviously McCormick is, he's very good at reading that and coming over to help, but in the Big 12, there's not, at least on the film that I saw, when he was helping, there were the big men weren't really capable of shooting threes. So that's the difference here. Villanova, Eric Dixon is, he's not a huge 3-point shooter, but he's more than capable. He's shooting over 50%. He's got 17 made threes. And I think this game, it might resemble the game that KU had earlier against Creighton, where, they kind of had the shooting games of their lives. And, I think the way that Villanova is going to space the floor, and like you said, they're going to, pass a lot out of those post-ups. I think they're going to get open looks just because of how much pressure they're going to apply on KU's defense around the rim. And then, it's just going to be come down to how many threes Villanova can make.
I'm sure that's not what KU fans want to hear, is how many threes can Villanova make, because they've seen them make an awful lot here in previous games, including in the NCAA tournament. You brought up 2 good points, Taylor. We know from college basketball that, KU plays fast. They love to play fast. They love to get out in transition. Villanova plays slow. When a fast team faces a slow team, usually the slow team wins out. It's a lot easier to pull back and make sure you get back in transition. So that's something to watch. Can KU get 6 or 8 points just running? Can they beat Villanova down the floor and get a few easy ones and try to speed this thing up as much as possible? The second part of that is David McCormick is such a story here, because we talk about the mismatch he has defensively trying to guard somebody, and you're right, he always wants to help. His inclination is always to help, even when there's a 3-point shooter that he's guarding. But on the flip side of that, Villanova probably wants to play 5 guys in this game. I mean, their rotation is not deep. So if KU can throw it to McCormick on the other end, you get foul trouble, you get a couple guys with a couple fouls. All of a sudden, KU could get Villanova and Jay Wright in a place on their bench that they don't want to get to. So to me, David McCormick in this game is so important for both sides, because if Villanova gets him out of the game, it potentially helps them play with those 5 guys that they want to play with so much.
Yeah, you're right. They're very stretched thin. They already had a short rotation before the injury to Justin Moore, and you're right. I would expect 4 of the starters to probably play 35 plus minutes, and then you're looking at Archidinakino off the bench and Brian Antoine, guys like that who haven't played a ton this year. But in a game like this, it'll be interesting to see how short of a leash that Jay Wright has, and like you said, foul trouble I think is going to be a huge story of this game. If Villanova gets in foul trouble, that could spell big trouble for them, because I think KU's a little deeper. And like you said, McCormick, it's funny. I mean, he really might be the X factor of this game, just because of how important he is on both ends. And then just looking at Villanova's depth, they don't really have a big guy off the bench they can bring and feel good about guarding somebody like him.
Yeah, and speaking of nightmare fuel for Kansas, yes, Villanova has another Archidinakino, and they also have that Colin Gillespie guy who was in the 2018 Final Four as well. So some of these guys just seem to not go away, including Mitch Lightfoot from Kansas as well. Guys, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to throw it to our sponsor. So a quick word from our sponsor. We'll be right back from the Superdome here in New Orleans.
In KC, Unbelievable things happen every day.
Unbelievable.
That's why Community America does unbelievable things, like share our profits with our members and invest millions into our community. Because when you believe in unbelievable things happen. Join us at communityamerica.com.
Guys, we're back here from the Superdome. I guess it's the Caesars Superdome here in New Orleans. Kind of crazy. 10 years, basically from the day when KU was in the Final Four in New Orleans as well. They got to the national title game, defeated Ohio State, went on to lose to Kentucky in this building as well. Gary, I wanted to ask you real quick. Bill Self said he did watch limited tape of Villanova today. Kind of made a little bit of a joke about it. Can you tell us what he said up on the podium about watching the Wildcats in that 2018 Final Four game?
Yeah, I thought that was some of the best stuff from Bill today because he doesn't like to watch games that end seasons. And he watched, but after about 12 minutes, he'd seen enough. So he said he was watching more about how to stop certain stuff rather than reminisce about the game or anything. So, yeah, Bill did say he watched some of that game this week. Some of the Jayhawks, I asked them if they wanted revenge for the game in Philly a couple of years ago because Ochai played in that game, Christian Brown, David McCormick, and they said not really revenge, but you do want to win for pride along with advancing to the national title game because Villanova has had a lot of success in modern times against KU. I think Bill is already 4-4 against Jay Wright, but that's what I was hearing from the Jayhawks.
Yeah, and historically, I mean, those Villanova teams have played pretty well against Kansas. You mentioned it, Gary. Not only the 2016 Elite Eight game, but the 2018 Final Four game. Even the game at Allen Fieldhouse in 2019, that one was competitive till the end when, Villanova was a little bit of an underdog in that one. So KU has had its troubles with Villanova, but again, they play in such a unique way, and Jay Wright is considered one of the best coaches out there for a reason. Taylor, I want you kind of gone into the film breakdown of Villanova. Anything else kind of stand out to you when you watch them? Obviously, the way that they flip around what they do, but I know you listened to Jay Wright yesterday and had his comments. Anything you hear from him stand out or from the Villanova side that kind of stood out to you as you were covering this team yesterday?
Yeah, I think the pick and roll, is a big part of their offense. They're one of the best teams in the country at running the pick and roll. So that's going to be always interesting to see, how KU covers it. Like you said, they switch, 1 through 4. And, I'm sure, Villanova is just going to spam the 1-5 pick and roll and see what KU does. And, they're going to space the floor. And it's just, it's going to be a really, really fun chess match just to see, two of the best coaches in the country basically play chess for 40 minutes and see how, the in-game adjustments is going to be really, really fun to watch. But yeah, I mean, Jermaine Samuels has been one of their players that's really stepped up, since the NCAA tournament started. I think he's averaging like 19 points in the 4 tournament games so far. And he's really playing best basketball, and they're going to need that, without one of their best players for this game. So, he's someone they put in that pick and roll and have him roll, and he's really, really dangerous. And the post up game is a big part, not just Gillespie, but they got Dixon and Samuels too. So I'm gonna be watching, how KU defends the pick and roll, and I think that's gonna be a big part of how this game goes. And and then like we said, Villanova is gonna space the floor and try to stretch out KU's defense, but like you said, I love the way they communicate. I love the way they rotate and, really stick to the perimeter. So I think it's going to be a fun matchup to watch. And I think it's Villanova is just, they're so good. They play at their pace. I think the goal for KU is going to be try to, disrupt it, not let them cut where they want, not let them pass where they want. Try to get a little bit up in them and not let them, just do whatever they want in the half court. And that's really where, Villanova, butters its bread. So how disruptive KU can be in the half court defense, I think that's going to be a storyline too.
Yeah, something interesting to watch too. I'm always reminded of the 2010 game when Northern Iowa was able to walk the ball up the court, dictate tempo, and KU sort of let them do that. I think Bill Self since then, we saw this in Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship game where Bill Self pressed, and it wasn't presses to get steals, it was presses to speed them up, to make them feel the defense, to make it feel more difficult. And then when they got across half court, okay, you got 23 seconds left, and for a team that needs all 30 seconds, 23 is not as much, you know what I mean? So will Kansas kind of throw a little bit of a play press at them to kind of get things going, and also bother Gillespie because, he's not a true point guard in that sense. He kind of plays point guard for them, but is a scorer. So we'll see if Kansas does anything to counter that. Interesting with the ball screens because, Villanova loves, in the basketball terms, Taylor, you'll know this, but the old shake action. They love the pick and roll and to lift the player for the three-pointer. They've run that against Kansas so much. And then Kansas, late in the season, a big reason that they've had success is they put their big man, David McCormick, at the level of the screen. So if somebody's setting a ball screen, he's right up there next to it. And by doing that, is allowed them to not allow downhill drives by the guard. They kind of have interrupted that flow. So we'll see if Kansas does that again. Maybe there's more adjustments they make because of how Villanova posts up, but the ball screen thing has always been a Jay Wright thing. So I agree with you, Taylor. I think it's going to be something to watch in this game because Jay Wright has lots of ways to do it. He has lots of ways to do it that have been successful against Kansas. So watch the back end, the rotations. Watch the guys like Remy Martin. If they can hit those post players, make sure they don't get those rolls to the rim. And then obviously watch David McCormick because he needs to be on point, low hands, high hands, recovering. He's a big key to this game as I see it. Before I let you guys go, let's get just general thoughts. I'll put you on the spot. Gary, I'll start with you. Just thoughts, predictions. How do you see this game playing out for KU against Villanova?
I think the Villanova injury was a big deal. Villanova doesn't play a lot of guys, or at least they didn't in the last two games. I would think depth would be a factor. I think KU, which has won 9 games in a row, just like Villanova, is playing well. I really can't see KU losing. I think they'll beat Villanova. I think they'll play well. I do think Villanova could conceivably come out and, with House's money, hit a ton of threes again, and that is, again, the only way I think KU could lose. If an avalanche of threes somehow again beats them. Then I would think the cards are there, the stars aligned for Duke to avenge their last loss to Carolina, and a Kansas-Duke final. And can Kansas spoil the storybook? I'm sure KU fans don't want to really talk about that game now. They just want to beat Villanova and get there and see what happens. But I don't know if anybody can stop the runaway storybook train of Coach K winning in his last season.
Hey, Gary, real quick before I let you go and get back to Taylor, any memories from 91 when KU faced Duke in the national title game? This would be a rematch.
Just that was Coach K's first title. At that time, you'd always talk about coaches, the best coaches to not win a title, and everybody kind of figured that was Coach K's year, and it was. I've got that right, I think. Kansas kept it pretty close, but Duke and Coach K did get his first title, and a lot of people are wondering if he'll bookend it, his first title and his last title. Kansas has played pretty well against Duke, though, in recent meetings, so I'm not discounting a national title for KU, but I just remember everybody thinking it was a foregone conclusion that Coach K would get the crown.
We'll see what happens this year. Taylor, I'm going to throw it to you. What are your thoughts on this matchup? How do you see it turning out?
Yeah, Villanova, I mean, we spent a lot of time talking about the offense, but, their defense is very, very good. They're top 20 on Ken Palm. They are, just as good of a defensive team as they are offense. So they have the profile of a team to maybe win it all. So I think even with Justin Moore out, I still think just the creativity of Jay Wright. That's going to be, you can never count him out. And so I think Villanova, a lot of people are just, writing them off. I feel like a lot of the national conversation is just, kind of penciling KU in, and that very well could happen. But I think Villanova, I'm sure they're going to have some tricks up their sleeve with Jay Wright. And as we know, they can spread you out and rain in threes. So I think that they have a better chance than a lot of people are giving them. But on the flip side, another thing I wanted to bring up was a thing that kind of, who knows if this will come into the game, but one of the things that kind of stood out to me when I was looking at their synergy profile was they've actually really struggled against zone defense this year. Like really, really struggled. They're one of the best in the country against man defense, and then they're bottom 100, against zone. And obviously, I know KU hardly ever plays zone defense. They're not going to go that routinely, but could we see Bill Self kind of pull a rabbit out of the hat, go to a zone defense when they've hardly ever played it? That'll be something to watch too. So because they, for whatever reason, Villanova has just struggled against the zone defense all year. So but I think KU is the favorite for a reason. They are playing very, very well right now, and I would say that KU is the favorite, but I guess I would just emphasize that, do not discount Villanova. This is a team of a lot of crafty players, a lot of high IQ players. And, I think they're going to give themselves a chance to win down the stretch. But I think, like we talked about earlier, with the limited depth of Villanova, it's just hard to see a lot. They're going to have to pick right for them to win this game. So, I think the odds are that, it's just more likely that KU is going to come out on top.
Yeah, I mean, the Vegas odds would tell you something like KU's 60 to 65% to win this. I mean, they could be 4-point favorites, but yet, 65% is not 100%. 65 to 70, 60 to 70, somewhere in there. So this should be a great one. And obviously, KU catching a break with Justin Moore's injury, but you're in the Final Four. You're facing a Hall of Fame coach. You're facing guys that have obviously won 4 games up to this point. So I'll have my official prediction in the Quick Scout blog coming out in kansascity.com tomorrow. But we will leave it there, you guys. I appreciate you joining me for Gary Bedore, the Kansas City Star beat writer, co-beat writer with me, and Taylor Eldridge from the Wichita Eagle. This is Jesse Newell signing off from Caesars Superdome here in New Orleans. Thanks again to our sponsor, Community America, and be sure to tune in for all your coverage of the Kansas Jayhawks in their Final Four run here at kansascity.com.